Hi, this is Rick Harsch, and this is my master class in fiction. I dropped a book, I had to pick it up. You can skip this ad in 3 days. Today is going to be a little bit different from other master classes. Normally, I concentrate on the bullshit that other writers talk about. Never the bullshit that writers you've never heard of talk about, but the big shots. Add to them fucking Walter Mosley and God, I don't know who else, but they just can't. I don't know if people drop out or nobody's interested. That's what I'd like to think. So they keep finding new ones. I don't know. Nobody's asked me, so I'm doing it on my own. But today, instead of telling you what bullshit other writers do, I'm going to tell you a few things that I've done that are not necessarily a good idea, but are not things you have to do either. And it all comes about from this project here. This book you've seen before. It's the Assassination of Olof Palme, a book that's hard to read in the dark. Even though it's not that dark. But I don't know if you've seen the author photo. It's one of my favorites. Two men from Buffalo went crazy and made Rick Harsch masks. Wait till you see the volume 2 is going to be the end of this book. I think by then it'll be what's called a maximalist novel. And the interesting thing is that I've written a maximalist novel, The Manifold Destiny of Eddie Vegas, but I never once thought of it as a maximalist novel while I was writing it. In fact, I don't think I ever had even heard the term maximalist novel. It's interesting because when I was first called a metafictional writer, I had never heard that term either. I just remember kind of giggling and thinking, metafiction? Okay. But what got me the title of metafictional novel was something that I had. Don't remember if I was directly inspired by Rabelais, but to write that piece. But Rabelais was always in my being when I thought about writing, and Henry Miller was another one always, and then when it comes to metafictional, you got to think of. I think you have to go back to Petronius as well. So the metafictional could be described as something like maybe Pliocene, or I don't know what epoch it goes back to, but certainly there isn't much new in it. Indian writers insert themselves into books all the time. They insert themselves into classics, into holy works. The Ramayana, depending on who's writing it, can get pretty juicy. The book ends in some cases, if not all, with the great love couple, Rama and Sita, splitting up. Rama kicks her out because of social pressure, and she's in the forest. And who does she meet there but the author of the book, or one of the authors, Valmiki, and he puts her up, and you would too. Wouldn't it be great, of all the beautiful women in literature? Who comes to mind? I keep thinking Moby Dick. I don't think. Okay, all the beautiful men. Okay, let's say you want, if you're gay, a gay writer, Queequeg. You if you were like the Indian metafictional writer, you would say, "Oh no, Queequeg, no, he survived. Yeah, I got him. I went out and picked him up. I knew what was going to happen, and I wasn't going to let Queequeg die, so I got him. Yeah, yeah, he's staying with me. We share a bed. I only have one bed, so that's kind of what many Indian writers have done. Not they don't describe the sexual stuff, but you read about Sita, and she's you know virtuous and all of that, but after what she goes through with Rama, she's probably ready for Valmiki. Anyway, maybe I've gotten off course here, but what I wanted to talk about was things that I did in this book that just came to me. I won't describe the whole book. I've described it enough in other places. But what's unique about it is that it's an anthological novel. It's my novel, but I've invited many other people to contribute, and their contributions range from several chapters by one writer to a joke told by one guitar salesman to emails that I just thought, ooh, that could go in the book, to found bits from various places. And that's none of this is absolutely new except the whole of it to actually make an anthological novel. But maybe that's what led to my own experimentations. But here's something that I did that I never would have thought. I'm no poet, but I was amongst some people in a group online, and they started writing sonnets, or not writing sonnets, posting sonnets, famous sonnets, or sonnets that they loved. And I had a tendency to make fun of whatever they put up, not in a mean spirit, but just to have a little bit of fun. And then at some point, I thought, well, why don't I write a sonnet? And I wrote a couple of more serious sonnets, um, and it turned out that one of them was a good sonnet for this book. It was about, in a way, this dead guy here, Giuseppe Pinelli. And so I thought, why don't I just, I have to put a section on him here and there throughout the book. Why don't I just put the sonnet there? And I just put the sonnet there, and I thought, nah, that doesn't actually work. What I'll do is I'll use the sonnet, and all of the sonnet will be in the few pages, and I'll write a few pages, but it starts with the sonnet, includes the whole sonnet, and you probably wouldn't notice that by reading it. There might be a couple poetic sentences and so on, but then every new chapter about this guy was it began with a sonnet, and then I went from there, and it all includes a sonnet, and then finally the last, second to last, the last is a graphic novel, um, and the second to last is actually pure sonnet, and so that's something I'd never done before. But my favorite one, now this is a book that questions uh, a lot of the presumptions about fiction, about autobiography versus non-autobiography, autobiographical versus um, standard views of autobiographical, authorship, um, and so on. And so realism is also questioned. And I did my most interesting experiment in realism yet. I had a character who needed to be debriefed. The debriefing was going to last a while, and I decided it would be recorded and presented in the book as a recorded debriefing. But I didn't know quite how I would do it. So what I did was, rather than just make it up, I made it up, but in a different way. I did what I'm doing now. I spoke extemporaneously as the character being debriefed, and I recorded it, and then I transcribed it. So you get, in a sense, it's realism in that it actually is the recording of a guy talking, only I'm acting as the guy. So I'm being an actor saying everything I wanted to say, and I did succeed in doing what I wanted to do, but it has, it's not in here, it's in volume 2. It starts volume 2. It goes about 23, 24 pages, but every single, every single one of those is in there. Everything is transcribed precisely. Is that realism? I'm not sure. Other things that happen in the book, well, I did mention graphic novel. That's something. I mean to suggest that there are many possibilities in fiction, that they're, I wouldn't say limitless, but this is my, here's some stuff you could try if you wanted. I, well, there's a limerick or two in here. There's a lot of found writing of my own that fit and so on. And the assignments that I gave out, one thing I did was give out the assignment, a short and simple one. I gave the assignment to someone to write a memo that with one main fact that had to be stated, and I gave him some of the context. But then I thought, well, what if he doesn't do it? Because sometimes you give people an assignment and they like the idea, but they don't do it. That happened a lot trying to get people to be Klaus Barbie. I finally got a Klaus Barbie, but then I had to rewrite some of it. That happened with a lot of things that people wrote. I rewrote to a degree. I revised, I suppose, is all. I just made it fit the book better, fit what I want better. But I gave this memo assignment, and then the guy didn't get right on it, and he didn't say he would either. But I don't know him that well, so I thought, well, let's be safe. I'll give another guy who wanted to be in the book, I'll give him the same assignment. And he wrote it first, the second guy, and it was fantastic. It was very funny. And then the other guy turned in his memo, and it was also really funny. And so I had another guy who was several times in the book, David Vardaman. I gave him the memo assignment, and yet another. And so each one is in the book, and the authors have to decide which one is the most. Well, never mind. Read the book. You'll see what they decide. The two narrators, Rick Harsch and the character, Rick Harsch, the author and character, or me and me. I don't really know. So there's a positive writing lesson. God, I hope nobody takes this seriously.